Well, hello, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Yes, we are finally in a Microsoft Flight Simulator. Robert S. Yes, we are, man. I know you guys have been asking for a while. I don't remember the last time I flew Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's probably been, it might be close to a year, at least 6-7 months since I was on this sim. So we are going to go down the rabbit hole today. I forgot how beautiful it was, or how beautiful the sim is, and I think we've been missing out on some of the Asia tour here as we flew most of it in X-plane. But no harm, no foul. We're going to fire up this lovely Air India A320neo, fly over to Impal. Am I saying that right? Impal? India, and that way we'll be a little bit closer. I was going to go straight to Parro from here, from Chiang Mai, but we're going to get a little bit closer. That way it's only about a 250-mile flight. Looks like we've got a Frontier out here too. That's cool. It'll be about 250 miles or so to Parro, which hopefully we'll be able to do tomorrow. So I hope you guys are ready for the stream. Good to see everybody here in the chat. Max, good to see that you're feeling better. Got the update. Got to update yours, Max. Yeah, so that was the main reason I hadn't flown Microsoft Flight Sim. I needed about 112 gigs of updates to do, and I didn't have the space, so I just kept putting it off. I finally got a new 4 terabyte SSD, and I was doing some rearranging of the PC, getting everything set up, getting all the sims updated. So we're fully updated and ready to rock with the latest experimental version here on the fly-by-wire 320. And there is no denying that this wing view right here is the absolute juice. I mean, this is one of the best wing views I've ever seen. It almost looks too good. You know, it's like almost too real. I don't know. It's interesting, but it looks awesome. I love the window views here back in Microsoft Flight Sim. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up. Yes, Flight Simmer, I am using the experimental version. I will give you a shout if I need any help. Hopefully everything will go smooth. I did get a sound fix from Boris to get rid of that altitude alert horn or whatever that was going off. So it's been pretty interesting. We're also going to be flying it, of course, with the FSprojects side stick, which I love. Oh, flight control surfaces are moving out there without hydraulics. That's interesting, but I'm just nitpicking. But yes, we're going to be flying it with this stick here, and I'm actually very impressed with some of the handling characteristics. That's how far it's come. So we'll talk about that later. We got about a 450-mile flight. Let's go ahead and hop into the cockpit here. We are cold and dark. We're going to go ahead and fire this airplane up. We got our voltages correct. We'll go battery 1, battery 2. And I'm going to go straight into the external power. We're going to go ahead and get some lighting on here. I may have to adjust the sounds because it does sound awfully loud here. Maybe not. Just doing its test. Let's go ahead and get our screens up. Pixelated Wolf, did you see you could link your iPad to the McDo? I did not see that, I believe. I've been messing with the, just uplinking the flight plans and all that, which is pretty cool. But no, I'm sure there's a lot of things that I still don't know about on this airplane that have been updated since the last time I flew it. So it's always fun to fly with you guys because you guys let me know what I'm missing out and how to do it correctly. So we got some lights on. Everything looks good there. Let's continue with the overhead. We'll go cruise supply, ground control on, which we can push these buttons now, which is awesome. I mean, when it was just a default airplane, I mean, you couldn't hardly do anything in the cockpit. But everything else looks good here. Let's go nav to position 1. We'll go on, we'll arm those. Look at this, I can hit all my buttons now, which is nice. Landing field is in auto. Leave the fuel pumps off. Do we have fire test? We sure do. 1, 2, and weird. Almost blew the bottle there in the APU. We don't want to do that. We'll close you. All right, cool. Couldn't quite see it there. Everything else looks good up the right side. That looks good. All right, cool. That's firing up. In order to load packs, it's under the weight and balance and ATSU menu. Okay, so I do have a question about that. So what I've been doing is just been loading my zero fuel weight from SimBrief and loading it in that way. But I will check that out, Andre, in the ATSU. So I'll show you what I've been doing. We'll just hop into that right now. Let's go ahead and come down to the ATSU. So what I've been doing is, I hope I don't screw this up because I already have the flight number. We go ATSU, AOC, and I go init. I'm going to go ahead and do init data request. There we go. That's us, Chiang Mai to Impal. And then I come over here to the initialization, and then I do the init request here, and we'll uplink the flight plan. Boom, just like that, we are done. Super high-tech stuff. I would say that, you know, some airlines run a direct uplink. Now, there was a memo that came out for us in particular, like when you do this uplinking, our airplanes, as well as what I've seen in most sims, they don't upload the departure and arrival, so you end up just loading the base en route fixes. So a lot of times just load it normally. It is what it is, but I've noticed that as well here, so I am assuming that is a realistic behavior, because I have seen that in the real airplane where you uplink a flight plan and it purposely leaves out the departure and arrival. But anyway, also the voice recorder test sounds. Voice recorder, we have it. CVR test. Oh, listen to that. I didn't even think to test it because, you know, Microsoft. But hey, if Boris doing with the sounds, this is no doubt one of the best sounding airplanes that I've ever heard in a flight simulator. It's just absolutely awesome. So come back down here. So you said in the AOC page, ATSU AOC weight and balance. Ah, okay. So here we go. So this is, I have not loaded it this way. So do I load in how many people I want, or can I just do request here of the operational flight plan? You guys let me know. Why you wait for the response on that? I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to make sure I have my charts here. Let's get VTCC out here. Go ahead and load that up. Chiang Mai, and then we're doing the 10-9. See where we are here. Chiang Mai. That is set. Like the little coffee cup over there. Hit send and then start boarding. Perfect. I will do that right now. I've got that set. Let's come back over here. Let's see if it'll load it up here. Look at that. Start the boarding process. Look at that. Okay, yeah, so I guess I could do your own numbers and do my own boarding. That is cool. So just like that, we're boarding. I mean, it's almost too easy. This is making the TOLA seem like a lot of extra work to be fun. But no, that's good. That boarding sequence is pretty nice. I like that, indeed. If you pick the number of passengers on the initial OFP, hit send, and yes. Done, Alex5150. It's done. All right, let's continue with the rest of our stuff here. I do want to see my flight plan. I was... what was our fuel here? I think we had gate fuel of 15.1, so it takes a little while to board. Oh, that's good. While we wait, let's go and get the fuel truck over here. Now let's go fuel. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I want to come back over here. Fuel. We need... Where's my total fuel? I want 16,000 pounds. Refuel. Looks like we're fueling. Yes, we are. Refueling on the ECAM. Look at that. Look at this fly-by-wire just coming to life, man. It's a real airplane now. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah, for fuel, you select the amount on the iPad and load it through there. Thank you, Flight Simmer. Need more dirt on those engines? Carta, I agree, man. These engines look brand new. Look, I don't know why I've got Spirit and Frontier out here with me in Thailand, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Definitely need some more dirt, no doubt. Carta, I gotta say though, if we had this sound pack with your engine mods and X-Plane, it would be absolute game changer. The sounds, I did 2 test flights in this airplane so far, and I'm telling you guys, the sounds, like especially from the engine view and it blows my mind. If you guys appreciate sound as much as I do, I think you're going to be in for a treat on this flight if you haven't heard this airplane start up in a while. So because of the uplink, you're able to program the box so fast in real life. Jeremy, yes, but like I was saying, 90% of our flying, we always just manually do it. But when you have 2 pilots up here, Jeremy, we can literally take the airplane on a turnaround state and we could reload the box in probably less than 5 minutes. Between the 2 of us, and even just one pilot could probably do a full diff strip in 5 minutes, probably even less than that, depending on how long the flight plan is. So it takes, you know, once you've been doing it for a long time, it's speed comes naturally. You just want to make sure you're doing things correctly, right? So I always say that when, you know, speed will come after you have enough proficiency. Make sure you're doing things correctly, going through your diff strip, the data page, init, flight plan, secondary, all that stuff, And the more you do that, speed will come. Don't try to be fast, because when you try to be fast, that's when you're going to mess things up and you're going to skip steps. So I'm going to go back here, though, and we're going to make sure we get the proper departure in here. We're going to do a departure off of 3.6, I believe. Let me pull up my flight plan again here. I know you guys can't see it, but it's not going to have much on it anyway. So it's the FSprojects I north. So 3.6, and we're departing off the FSprojects I north. Insert that. So if I go plan mode here, we should be able to see. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. I'm just going to go ahead and close that because we are fueling. So we're just going to step through our flight plan, though. Looks like a left turn all the way out, and then KL, and then essentially it's just direct from there. But we do have to load an arrival. So let's load up. Yeah, I closed the food bar. That scared me. All right, so let me pull up my one more time here for the arrival. I actually don't even have an arrival in SimBrief, which is interesting. So let's do a little pilot stuff here. Let's come over to this, and we're going VEIM, Impal, taxi. What's the airport look like? I have never been to this airport in my life. Never even flew there for a test sector, so I have no idea what this airport looks like. Should be pretty interesting. I picked it out at a sky vector, one because it was about halfway between here and Bhutan, and because of the elevation looked pretty interesting. 2,500 feet, and it almost sits in a bowl, so it could be for an interesting approach and arrival in there. But I've never actually seen this airport in the sim. I have no idea what it looks like. It looks like there's no stars. So let's just load up the approach to ILS 4, looks like is what we'll do. Ooh, full procedure. Can this thing even do it? Look at this chart. Good grief. Can I make this bigger? Ah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so here we go. This is the full procedure ILS. You hit the VOR, do a procedure turn, and this is why I picked this airport in SkyVector, because look at the terrain all around here. This is going to be interesting. Enoch says, hi from Impal. Impal being a small and not popular airport, how did you come to choose it? Very excited. Enoch, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Like I said, I literally was on SkyVector, which is just an online flight planning program, and I was trying to find an airport about halfway between where we are in Chiang Mai and Parro Bhutan, because I didn't want to do a 700-mile flight all the way to Bhutan. It's a little bit long. So I was like, well, let's split it up. Let's do one test sector in a fly-by-wire mod live. And I was looking at airports about the halfway point, and this is what drew me to the airport, is because of the terrain surrounding the airport. I thought this would be interesting. But if I was smart, I probably would have done a test sector into the actual airport, see if we could fly in there. But we're going to figure it out live on stream. That's what makes it fun, right? So let's go ahead and just load up the arrival. We're going to do ILS 4, no star, approach via... I guess IIM is the VOR, so we're going to do full procedure. Godspeed. We'll see what happens when we get there. Let's see if we can look at it on our ND here. Let's scroll this all the way down. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. It has it all in there. It actually has the procedure turn at the VOR and an arc. This is going to be very, very interesting. I've never done this approach. Never flown the haven't flown the fly-by-wire mod in over a year, so we're set. That looks good. I like it. We're going to just stick with that. We'll see what happens. Hopefully the weather will cooperate if we need to actually see anything, but I'm going to look at that flight plan. It looks good. 532 miles. All right, secondary, we're not going to worry about that. RadNav, there's nothing to hard tune coming out of here, so the init B page, we have to wait for the 0 fuel weight. Now, this is what I've been putting in from SimBrief directly. Since I've done everything pseudo correctly according to you guys in chat now with the ATSU menu, is there a proper way that I should be loading the 0 fuel weight here instead of what I've been doing with the SimBrief initialization? You guys let me know on that. So I'm going to skip that, and then of course we'll have perf data. So yeah, that's all we're waiting on, is those two things. That looks good. Our fuel is on board. Let's go ahead and fire up the APU. Let's go fuel tank pumps on. Oh yeah, listen to those fuel tank pumps here. Love it, love it. All right, we'll go ahead and prime the APU, and we'll get the seatbelt sign on. And before I start the APU, can we check the fuel page? We sure can. There it is, on board and balanced. Beautiful. Do we get a flap open message here? I forget. We sure do. Cool. We're going to start up the APU. Let's take a listen. You have to wait until packs are on board and then click zero fuel weight. Okay. Flight Simmer says double click zero fuel weight and enter the block fuel manually. Cool. We will wait till boarding complete. Man, that APU spool up sound. Hopefully people are making the jump here. A little interesting setup there. APU is on. Looking good. We'll go ahead and disconnect with external power. Do I have a clock? I do have a clock. We'll go ahead and wait 3 minutes until we turn on the APU bleed. Absolutely juicy. Juicy sounds indeed. All right, so we've got our fuel on board. We've done that. We're still waiting for boarding. Can I double check the boarding process here? What was that? Oh, it's VATSIM. Oh yeah, I am on VATSIM, by the way. Let's see, AOC, weight and balance. We're still boarding. Okay, so I'm going to leave that page up so I can just monitor the boarding process. While we wait, let's do a briefing here on our departure. So let's come back. Let's close this out. We'll deal with that when we get there. We got a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and focus on the departure. We are on the Vices 1. Oh, no, excuse me. Similar. Yeah, it is Vices 1 North. RNAV departure. So we're going to load that up. Let's do a brief here. All right, so it looks like it's straight out across CM 901 at or above 4,000 feet, then a left turn directly out to our waypoint. We're going out to Vices. We got a couple altitude restraints here on the departure at or above 9,000, and then between 9 and 10. Shouldn't be an issue. We're relatively light. We don't have a lot of gas on board for the departure procedure. That looks good. So if we have an engine failure fire prior to V1, it'll be my decision to reject. I'll bring the aircraft to a complete stop. I'll put the parking brake on. I'll call flight attendant stations, analyze the situation, call for any ECAM actions or the emergency evacuation checklist as required. And you will, and Phantom 320 will reply. I'll call your reversers, manual brakes, notify tower stopping on the runway, let them know if we need emergency vehicle assistance, turn on the dome light. Cool. After V1, if we have an engine failure or fire, we're going to treat it as an in-flight emergency. On this particular departure, we're going to continue straight out, speed up, clean up. Acceleration altitude to be 2,100 feet. We'll come back around, make right traffic. We'll go ahead and close the stream there. I'll go home and watch football. So that is our departure brief. Any questions? No questions. Good deal. Let's go to current altimeter. What about weather? What about weather? So if I go back, what about ATIS? I wonder, I have it set on VATSIM, so maybe I need to change that. Oh, I have a company message. Oh my goodness, and something's printing too. Okay, what do we got? Digital ATIS not available. Okay, so in that case, if that happened in real life, I would come over here and I'd go weather request, and I'd go METAR VTCC. Oh crap. VTCC, and I'd send it. Let's see what happens now. Critter, what's up, man? It says, hey, V1, quick question. I was on approach and got 2 magenta barbs on the airspeed tape, bracketed VREF. Thank you. What is that? Critter, were you in... Which airplane were you in? Was it the TOLUS, Flight Factor, or the fly-by-wire mod? On approach, 2 magenta barbs on the airspeed tape. The only thing I can think of is you had some type of econ descent window, which is normal to see on the descent down. but I don't know why you would be seeing that around the VREF off the top of my head. I'd have to actually see the situation to see it. It looks like we have a message. Let's see here. Receive messages. Well, I'll be damned. Does it print? Okay, I can't print it. Or can I? I can print it. Wow, that is pretty cool. Okay, so it works just like it's supposed to. Some airports don't have digital ATIS. Go here and get a weather request. METAR for Chiang Mai, Cavoke 171012 is the meter, 250 at 12. So let's change this over to 1012. 1012 is set. 1012 set down here. And are you synced? Yes, you are. Beautiful. There's our weather. We got all of our ATIS weather. That's freaking sweet. I love it. 59 likes, 144 watching. Smash that like button. Yes, guys, smash the like button for this window view right here. Smash the like button for streaming on a Sunday. I typically don't fly on Sundays, but I've been so busy. I was like, I got to get back to my people. Got to get on stream. So we postponed Donut Day with the girls, and we're doing a live stream this morning. So do hit that like button. It does help the channel out. I appreciate you guys. I haven't been streaming for a while, so that, of course, always hurts the channel. I got one more busy week coming up, but then after this week, it's really going to lighten up for a little bit. Month of February is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of free time. So I actually have some vacation coming up, and I actually have, I think I even have the first week off too. So it'll be a lot of fun. Hit that like button. I think we're probably done boarding it. Are we done boarding yet? Let's go McDo. I'm liking this. Not quite done yet, I guess. Alright, we're still waiting. Everything else is done. We don't have ATC, so let's set our top altitude of 26, which is kind of low, but 26 is set. I wanted to be taken off at sunrise. We kind of missed that. Oh well. You still have the donuts for us? I already ate my donut, other Jason. Already ate it. Man, this is an awesome shot though with the sun coming up. Clear morning. Do you know when we'll be doing a de-icing flight? Peyton, we don't have anything that properly simulates de-icing though, correct? Unless we're in FS Labs? Man, I'd hate to. I've got the space for it now. I might have to reinstall FS Labs. Oh, weird, I just dropped off out of, that's it. Looks like it reconnected there. That's all right. Microsoft next world update is on January 31st, which is for Australia. That's the only thing I don't care for. Like, I don't want to update, 50 gigs or whatever it is for Australia. Like, let me choose when I want to update. Oh well. Loading the donuts indeed. Carta, I saw that, some liveries for your CFM. I think I'm going to be flying that CFM 319 into Parro here pretty soon. Is there an update? Oh, hello. Somebody decided to join the party. Well, that is interesting. Oh boy. Gotta love that sim, right? I know I said this before, I just want to make sure you have cloud set to ultra, makes the world's difference. I don't know, I think they're on high. I don't think we have any clouds today though. I think we're going to be alright. Alright, are we done yet? Let's see, let's take a look here so we can get out of here. Hey, we're done. Alright, so init B, come over here. Click it twice. Block fuel on board is 15.9. We are ready to go. Are you guys ready to go? Hit the like button if you're ready to depart. Here's our fuel. What do we got for extra? Do want to make sure we have proper amount of gas on board. I did watch XP72 flame out a 320 in cruise over the mountains of Denver. Awesome stream. So we do not want to make a repeat of that. So we do have gas on board. If we run out of gas, it's a bug and nothing that I did. All right, everything else looks good. Let's go ahead and get the APU bleed on. We've already disconnected from that. I'm going to actually turn the beacon on. And let's close up the doors and get out of here. Doors, windows closed and on, beacon on, thrust levers idle, parking brake, it's off. Oh, we'll go ahead and lock this one. There we go. 4-star checklist is complete. Let's push back and get out of here, guys.
Cockpit to ground.
This is ground. Stand by.
All right, he's hooking up down below. Fubar. He did a good job. He landed it in the snow. He landed it in the snow.
Okay,
oh,
sir.
No, I have
the
not
bypass
fixed
pin
it.
is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
I don't know what speeds are, but let's just go ahead and do this. It should be close enough. 11,000.
Standing by for pushback.
Flaps 1 Toga. Alright, he's standing by, and brakes release. Clear to push.
Please set parking brakes.
What, you want me to set parking brakes?
Please set parking brakes.
Alright. Hold on. My bad. Fubart landed it. I want to go backwards.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
We are cleared for start and push. Parking brake set.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
A lot of communications.
Parking brakes
there.
are released.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
We're rolling. We did it. We're off the gate in 27 minutes. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I could double click the speeds. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I should have done that. I bet that's close. If you put the flaps in first, it'll automatically calculate the V speeds. Really? During taxi, can I explain what V2 speed is? V2 is your single engine best performance speed, essentially. No, I don't want to say that. So V2 can mean different things in different airplanes, but in the Airbus, V2 essentially is your single engine climb out speed. That's what you want to be flying, no less than V2. No less than V2. All right, so my rudders are pretty wacky in this, and I've tried to adjust my sensitivity to allow for more nose wheel steering. I still have to make very, very wide turns, so I'm going to go back pretty far here because I haven't figured out how to assign a separate tiller axis or just a separate tiller in general. Go ahead and stop pushback there.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Brake set.
Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Alright, so he's going to disconnect. We're going to go ahead and start engine number 1. Here we go.
Ground. You may disconnect.
Okay, sir. Cleared to disconnect. Pin has been removed. See you at the side. Have a good flight.
It has not been removed. I can see it
Holding
there.
position, waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Alright, here we go. Starting engine 1. Enjoy this sound. We're going to do it from here. I literally feel like I'm sitting in a CFM or in a Leap 320 right now. That startup, I mean, my teeth are resonating. Good grief, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and start engine 2. We'll do 2 starts here. We need a warm-up time on both. Could you imagine if we had these sounds like an X-plane on any of our Airbuses? It's awesome. This sound pack is awesome. You can hear the plastic in the airplane rattle during startup. Jeremy, I know, that's what I'm saying. It literally sounds like I'm sitting with my head against this window right here. Hit the like button for the sounds. All right, show Boris some love. Hit the like button. Hit the like button for this startup sound. Gio, what's up, man? How you doing, man? I'm doing good. Hope you're doing well as well, my friend. Thank you for joining the stream, Gio. Wow. What a startup indeed. All right, that comes back. We'll arm that. I'm going to extend the flaps from the wing view, so we're going to go with that. We'll do that. Let's go ahead and drop flaps to 1. Freaking awesome. All right, I wanted to try to do something here. Can I redo the speed? So, oh look, I was off by 1 knot. Wow, I was off by like a total of 3 knots without even calculating that. That's pretty good. I'm proud of myself. 38, 39, 43 is set. We're doing a flaps 1 Toga takeoff. We got everything else. Flaps 1 after start checklist is complete. Brakes off, taxi light on. And let's roll. Is the sound pack available? The sound pack is part of the mod. So all you gotta do is download the mod and you're good to go. Comes with it. All right, let's get back on center line. I think we might, we're not going to do a full back taxi. We're just going to take it to that last intersection. Anyway, for the Mr. Martini, to get back to what you were saying about V2. So it's like your minimum climb out speed, single engine. Now, what's interesting about the V2 speed is for years, airline crews were trained that if you lost an engine above V2, that you were to slow back to your V2 speed to continue to climb out. Well, if you remember the air crash, I wonder if it was it the Sioux City air crash, where it was in DC-10, they lost the left engine, actually separated from the airframe. And what happened when it separated, it severed the hydraulic lines and it sucked the slats up on that engine because there was no pressure to hold the slats out. So aerodynamically, the slats were pushed into the wing. So what happened is there was a little bit of a roll because there's obviously not enough lift on that wing, right? So now the airplane's going to roll to the left, but their speed was V2 plus, I don't know, 20 or something, and they were able to counteract that roll. Now, the crew was trained, like many crews, were trained to actually slow back to that V2 speed. So as they were trained, they reduced the speed to V2, and what happened is the speed got so low that it was not able to produce enough lift on that engine that had the slats retracted, which induced an uncontrollable roll to the left, and that's how the airplane ended up crashing. It was just an uncontrolled roll. And had they have just stayed fast or sped up, they would have had enough aerodynamic force on the operating engine and the wing that wasn't damaged to fly in level flight with counteracting that roll tendency. So that was one of the major contributing factors that we learned is, okay, if you have an engine failure or separation, or we call it a severe damage or separation. So it's a little bit different than an engine failure. It is an engine failure, but when you have a severe damage or separation, there's a lot more stuff you have to be cautious about structurally with the airplane. And if that happens, we're no longer trained to slow to V2, unless, of course, you need the performance to clear a mountain or something. So it's, that was Sioux City. No, this crash was American 191 at O'Hare. Thank you. Sioux City was United. Thank you, Jeremy. You're correct. That was American 191 at O'Hare. So yeah, now it's if you fail, you know, you just maintain your speed. But that was just kind of an interesting lesson. I mean, we learned another lesson learned in blood, right, in aviation. But that is essentially what your V2 speed is for there. You're making me want to reinstall FS 2020, Paul? Oh man, look at this wing view here for reinstall. It's pretty dang good. I'm gonna do all my checks here short of the runway. I guess we can taxi full length. I thought we had a back taxi. That's right, we'll taxi full length here. We don't need the chrono on anymore. We'll do all of our checks short of runway. And then we will get out of here. I'm at the airport tuned in, and of course I hear you talking about sounds. Boris! Hey man, I hope you have a great flight today in that Cirrus of yours. And yes, your sounds are absolutely stunning, man. Best sounds out there. All right, let's do a couple stuff here. We'll go take off landing cam. Let's do a flight control check. A full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, almost full left, almost full right, neutral. We're gonna go auto brakes max, takeoff config checked, radar, BWS auto, TCAS, TARI. Oop, I do need to change this. Let me come over here and change this to 2000, because we are on VATSIM. On auto, or on and TARI for 2000 is set. Cabin check.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Whoa. Who's that sexy voice? Almost sounds like a real pilot right there. Alright, here we go. Auto. Let's do it. Light it up. Ooh, cinematic taxi on. Here we go. Paul Shoesmith, how's this window view here for reinstall? You can look at all the high def COVID particles on the window. I mean, this is next level wing view here. All right, we're set up. Ooh, I'm gonna have to turn my brightness up a little bit. I love the lighting in Microsoft Flight Sim. It is so good, man. So good compared to X-Plane 11. All right, you guys ready? 260 is set. Everything is ready to go. Nose forward on the stick. Oh, here we go. We're gonna spool them up 50. We're doing this from the wing view all the way. I don't care if we do S-turns down the takeoff floor. You guys gotta hear these engines. Here we go. Spool them up. Yoga's in chat. Oh, yeah. All right, man, Toga, SRS runway auto thrust is blue. 80 knots, thrust set. 100 knots, check. V1, rotate. Great, gear up. We're nabbing. Flyby. We don't have flyby, but good grief. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button for that. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? The sun coming off the wing there. Good grief. It's a pretty steep climb out profile too. I've been missing these views. All right, let's go ahead and lower that nose a little bit. Get a positive trend in speed here. I do have an actually normally finding my proper detents. There we go. Thrust climb, climb, auto thrust. Golly, look at that. Ultimate juice. Those sounds are awesome. Lowering that nose a little bit. 10,000 restriction, magenta looks good. We are approaching S speed. I guess I can disarm the spoil brakes as well. There's S speed flaps 0. After takeoff checklist. Oh, look at that BLS coming up to get me there. It might be heavier than I thought. Wing flex on there. Did you hear the nose gear rattle as you rotated? Yes, Jeremy, I did. That's I definitely picked up on it, man. It's awesome. It's straight out of a real airplane. All right, we got a little bit of a. Let's see how she does here in the turn. I kind of want to hand fly this departure, so I'm gonna just take her around nice and easy. Alright, so we'll talk about curves as soon as I get to cruise. But what I'm doing now is I have what curves that I was using, and then I saw that the fly-by-wire team actually has a recommended curve profile. So I'm trying the recommended profile out right now. And I'm going to tell you what I like better. Mine was very, very similar. I think the recommended curve profile is like, what, 33% or 33, something like that? I remember seeing 3s on it. Beautiful morning. I can just feel the thick air on this early morning flight. Speed alt constrained star. These early morning flights, anybody that's, especially if you're doing flight training, if you ever have an early morning flight with an instructor at 6 a.m., that air is cool. There's no convective activity yet, no convective heating. It's just real thick and calm. That's exactly, I can almost smell it. Speed out constraint. Look, we're complying with the constraints as well. Let's go ahead and get some of these lights off here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and ding the flight attendants. Let them know we're at 10. Oh, we're climbing. Violated that there. Plus 30 and minus 30. Maybe that's what I'm running. I'll check it here real quick. Let me see. Will it mess it up? We'll do it when we get to cruise. Remind me when we get to cruise, guys. We'll check the profile. But I'm liking this. It's a little bit high there. It's okay. Look at that. Alright, I guess we'll go autopilot 1, and we'll put you guys back into live mode. And we don't need to slow down. Let's go ahead and maintain current speed. We know it'll comply, so let's just go ahead and climb, open climb now to 260. Thrust climb, open climb. We'll do a 300 knot climb out. Comes the thrust. VNAV still not working right. That's one of the last things, one of the last big things that's missing. That's correct. I did hear that. I was kind of reading the updates on them. That seemed to comply with the VNAV departure there pretty good. It leveled. So we had a proper constraint star. Now if we could just get some speed and start climbing. Anderson, what's up? Just got home from flight school. Glad I could make it in time. Anderson, welcome. Welcome to the stream, man. You're just in time, dude. We're having a beautiful departure here out of Chiang Mai. Headed over to Impal, India. And then we're only going to be a short 250-ish miles from Parro Bhutan, which I'm thinking we're going to do 2 or 3 flights in there. I'm going to try to get Phantom for one of them and do a multi-crew flight in there. I might even try it out in Microsoft Flight Sim. Just said, like, I know we don't have proper VNAV, but we can see if we can just get it in there for the visuals, and then maybe try to land something big in there, like a 321. Because I don't know, 319 coming in there is pretty tight. I'd be curious to see if we can get a 321 in there. I'm sure it would be illegal. I don't think you can get a 321 out legally. You might be able to. I don't know. Flying it by hand because autopilot won't hold heading or nav mode. Nope, we're on autopilot mode right now, man. Jeremy says, so when you dinged the flight attendants just now, I heard a high-low chime, but on the Airbuses I've been on, passing 10K is a double low tone. How do you make that sound? A double low tone. Double low tone. Jeremy, I don't know. It could be. Oh yeah, we're at 11. We'll go ahead and set standard here. Because that ding dong, that high low is correct from what I hear up front. I'm trying to think if there's. What you might be hearing is them answering the call? No, I don't know. Jeremy, I'm going to have to pay attention next time I go to work, man. I'm going to go next time I go to work. It could be just a difference in, some airframes. If you're on an older airframe, maybe like an old Airways airframe, that might be different. But from what I remember, I feel like that high-low is what I hear. Now, a low tone, 2 low tones, that could be them calling each other. But I'd have to check it out. I'm going to pay attention next time, Jeremy, for sure. Thank you, Drone. Appreciate it, man. 340 in the Parro. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen. ETA is freaking out. Wow, look at that. It is, huh? It doesn't know what to do. That's pretty weird. Well, we're going off course here. Let's go direct to Lima Kilo. Well, no, let's go direct. Yeah, Lima Kilo. There we go. That's probably why. Maybe that'll fix it. Maybe not. We're in the turn now. Would the ding-dong depend on which CID is installed? It could, Chris. It could, very much. I fly Delta mostly on the Airbus. It's usually a double low chime. You mean just like a... I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Are you in the team that developed this Airbus? No, I am not at all. Not at all. Maybe the newer CIDs have different... It's very possible. What are my thoughts on the 5G situation? Man, it's been causing havoc. It has caused some havoc for me personally already. I've already had some issues with it. Just as far as airports, getting into airports and whatnot. Is this doing something weird for you guys on the stream, or is that just my OBS overlay? Let's come here. Let's enjoy this view here. Turn it down a little bit now. Beautiful. But no, that 5G situation is very interesting. I think they were installing a buffer zone now for some airports, but I flew the day that was implemented. So it was implemented at like midnight Zulu, and that Friday I actually started a trip. And I flew, or was it a Friday, whatever the day of the week it was. But yeah, I flew in that 5G with the NOTAMs active and all that, and there was a situation in, where was it? It wasn't in LA. I can't remember where, but our incoming plane was delayed because of something that eventually tied into that. Now, what's interesting is our Airbuses, there's alternate methods of compliance that are coming out and all that, but my regional airline that I used to fly for, they have a whole bunch of different issues where they can't use auto thrust below 500 feet, or is it below 5,000? I think it's below 500 feet, maybe 5,000 feet. I don't know. A couple other weird limitations for the Embraers too. So every airplane is different, and I think it's just going to take time for them to get over it and find the proper solution. But that's just a typical failure of the government there. Modernized touchscreen type CID, probably modernized as well. Very possible. Ground speed is reading 0 knots. Interesting. What if I do a profile climb out? Maybe that'll change something. I have tried Microsoft Flight Simulator, was a realist, but I can't find a DC channel that works. I don't know why I used it years ago. There's a TikTok radio altimeter going crazy. Yeah, Al, I saw that. Al, I saw that one, and then there's one where I posted one where you're like on the ILS, and then you get a Windows crash error, and then I saw one which was basically, it was an Airbus, and the entire PFD and MFD were rolling 180 degrees, just totally spazzing out. I don't know if it was a sim. I assume it was a sim. I haven't heard of anything like legit real where the airplane freaked out, but it's only on, and one thing you have to remember is that 5G interference, it's only on a Cat 2 and Cat 3 approaches, and or Cat 1 special authorization. Whoa, that was some weird wing flex. What do we got going on here? Easy, Tiger. But so it's not every approach. It's only on Category 2 or 3 and Category 1 special authorization. I know Salt Lake's got a lot of Cat 1 special authorization approaches. Do I think the 22500 could stretch to replace? I don't think it can quite do it, Chris. Not quite. Volkscraft, exactly. Right, it's only 5G C-band, correct, Al. Got a weird landing. Oh, this brings up a good thing I just remembered. Drone says, I got a weird landing control master caution on Tolos 321 Neo yesterday. The JIPWIZ was an op. What does that mean? So JIPWIZ, basically, that's your ground proximity warning system, was an op. And up on the overhead, you have to tell, I don't know if you had a terrain or just a full-blown JIPWIZ in op. So when you look at the JIPWIZ panel on the overhead, you have two separate systems here. You have the E, or enhanced part of JIPWIZ, so sometimes I hear it called to a Z JIPWIZ. That's when you have this inclusion of the terrain database here. This terrain database is based off GPS position of the aircraft, so when you're sitting at the gate and you're not aligned, it's common and correct to see a fault light in the terrain push button, because if the airplane doesn't know where you are, it can't give you proper terrain database alerts. But you can dispatch without the enhanced portion of JIPWIZ as well, and you can have your basic ground proximity warning system, and this is your main JIPWIZ system here. So if you have a fault light over here, that means your entire JIPWIZ is pretty much cahoots, and you'd have to, I don't think you can dispatch that. There might be some special limitations on dispatching with the JIPWIZ in op, but you probably had some issue with your LGCIU, or your landing gear control, which trickled into your JIPWIZ because it doesn't know if the gear is up or down. Maybe I'm just speculating here. I'd have to actually see the failure and be in the cockpit with you, but I'm speculating it had something to do with the position of your landing gear, and part of the JIPWIZ call out is too low gear. So if it doesn't know what position the gear is in, then it's not going to be able to give you that proper call out, so it's going to fault out and say, hey, I can't figure this out. You tell me what's going on. But that's just my speculation. And then you have some normal inhibiting modes here on the JIPWIZ. So glide slope mode. Anybody remember what this is? If you guys have been around the channel, when would we use the glide slope inhibit mode? This is going to inhibit any glide slopes, any glide slope reception on the aircraft. The flap mode, this is when you're going to be landing in flaps less than 3. So maybe you have a flap slant jam, you're going to be landing at flap 2 or maybe 1+F or some in-between configuration, your flap mode, you want to turn that on so you don't get a flap jip whiz when you're on approach. Landing flap 3, that's very common if you're, especially in a 321, if you're going to do a flaps 3 landing just as a normal, whether it be for wind or wind shear escape, whatever you decide why you're going to do a flap 3 landing, you just want to make sure you have this on here to inhibit that jip whiz call as well. But does anybody remember why we have a glide slope mode up there? It's kind of a weird one to have. All right, we leveled at 260. Seems a little bit choppy. We'll just go ahead and leave the seatbelt sign on for now. Enjoy some wing views here. What's the difference between master warning and master caution? Master warning is uh-oh, that's red. Master caution is what now? So master warning is going to be any type of red ECAM, engine fire, failure. Well, yeah, engine. I think engine fail is red as well. Yeah, it should be. But any fire, like an oil, low oil. Master caution is going to be something else, like kind of like we were talking about, landing gear computer fault, or what's a common nav TCAS fault. That's master caution. Things that should not be ignored, but it's not immediately urgent. And then a master warning is, I need you to fix this now, or there's potential serious consequences. That's just kind of how you break it up. The wheel page depicted many amber figures on the gear door, or the gear indicators. So yeah, Drone, that's kind of what I was getting at. You probably had a failure of the landing gear system, whether it be the computers or whatnot, and it could not tell what position the gear were in anymore. So that would be my initial guess of what you had. You had an LGCIU failure or something along those lines to where the gear no longer knew what position it was in. And once it can't tell what position it's in, it can't tell you, to avoid terrain with the gear down. So that's why your jip whiz faulted out. Carta says, isn't that for approaches that use DME but don't have a glide slope? If I remember, I could be wrong. No, not quite, Carta. You're on the right track. It has to do with approaches. It has to do with approaches, but no, it's a very specific reason. I'm sure there's probably more than one, but the main reason is pretty specific, and it's actually caused airplanes to go off runways before. That's a hint. Thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate it. I also noticed that master warning is often accompanied by a continuous repetitive chime. Master caution just gives you a single chime. That is correct, Jeremy. That is correct. The CRC. You hear it when I do the fire test. Why is RNAV approaches the future over ILS? Isn't it a bad idea not to have external guidance, just rely on GPS and altitude waypoints? Chris, I think it's all event. The real answer is money. It's going to be much cheaper in the long term to not have any ground-based nav aids. Now, I don't foresee ILS going away for a very, very long time. I mean, they were talking about, when I was going through flight training, they were saying NDBs, once they go out of service, they're not replacing them, and that's it. But I mean, we still have NDBs in South America. You still have, so the fact that, ILSs are going, yeah, maybe in 30 years, maybe in 20 years. But until then, I think ILS is going to be here for a very long time. Kono says, I love watching your streams. Thank you. Do you fly both CEO and NEO? Yes, I do. If yes, what do I prefer? Well, if it's the 320 in particular, then I prefer the 320 NEO over the 320 Classic. Mostly because of the sounds. But they're very similar. 320 NEO is also a little bit more forgiving on crosswind landings. Has a little bit different flare law or rotation mode than the Classics do. But that's pretty much the only difference. And of course the engines. But I like the 320 NEO just for the sounds, really. I love taxiing a NEO around because I mess with the, I don't say I mess with, but I love hearing the engine spool up on a NEO. So if you're ever on a NEO and you're flying around the States and the pilot taxiing around like a monkey keeps spooling up the engines, it's probably me up there. If the glide slope is not usable for whatever reason, Robin K is on the right track. Not something like offset ILS. Nope. So the real reason for, well, I shouldn't say the real, but the main reason the glide slope mode is inhibited, or you have an inhibit push button, is when you look at an approach chart. Let's see if we can pull one up here, actually. Because we're going to, I wonder if this is going to be a bad example. Let's see. Where are we going? VIEM? What's our ICAO? VEIM, I thought. VEIM. Not pulling up any charts for some reason. Okay, let me do it this way. Let's do the approach. Ooh, this is not a good example. So, Carta, this is not a good example, but the reason we have that glide slope inhibit up there is on the majority of approaches that are ILS approaches, they are also localizer approaches. So you will see ILS or localizer runway 4. This particular approach is not one of those approaches. This is a straight up ILS. You cannot fly this as a localizer approach. Now what's interesting is it has minimums for glide slope out. I don't know why it doesn't say ILS or loc up here. This could be a Navigraph thing, or it might be something in the notes I'd have to read. But the majority of ILS approaches that are also localizer approaches, you're going to see ILS or localizer. So you have two approaches in one. Now the reason that we have that glide slope inhibit push button up there is if you have an approach where you're doing a localizer only, you don't want to receive glide slope information. It may be incorrect, it may distract you, may be disorienting to you, but more importantly, in a more practical scenario, there was an Embraer 170 landing in Chicago. I want to say it was Chicago, maybe somewhere in the Midwest. Maybe it wasn't Chicago, maybe it was like Cincinnati or something. And it was a very interesting cockpit voice recorder we got to listen to. We studied the incident. But essentially what happened was the pilots were prepping for an ILS approach. Once they got down to the approach controller cleared them for the ILS approach runway, I'm just making it up, 13, localizer unusable. I'm sorry, glide slope unusable. So they said, whatever, you're cleared for the ILS 13 approach, glide slope unusable. So there was, on the cockpit voice recorder, there was confusion to the crew. Why is the glide slope unusable? And at the very end of the ATIS, one of the last things the ATIS said, it said that due to snow, glide slope indications are unusable. Because what happens if you look at a glide slope antenna, it's a very tall antenna, I should say, and if you have a snowbank in front of it, it's possible that you get a reflective signal coming off of the glide slope, which can cause erroneous signals to be hitting the aircraft. So whenever there's a situation where you have a heavy snowbank that haven't been able to plow, the ILS glide slope will become unusable. So what happened was the crew was audibly discussing this, like, what do you mean the glide slope's unusable? He said we're cleared for the ILS. They never queried ATC. They never asked them. They never put the glide slope inhibit mode on in their aircraft. And the pilot actually said, well, it seems to be working. We have glide slope. So the crew followed it down. Problem is they followed down a false glide slope that ended up being high. When they broke out, they saw the runway in front of them. They should have went around. They were well past a normal position to land. They continued to force the airplane down to land anyway, and they ended up going off the end of the runway. So that is just a real-world example of when you would use the glide slope inhibit, is when you have an unusable glide slope due to snow or any type of phenomenon which could cause a reflective signal, mostly due to snow. I don't know if it can happen with anything else, but normally that snow, a snowbank, can render this unusable. So anytime, it's good practice, anytime that you're doing a localizer approach, even if it's a regular loc, it just says loc only, like a San Diego loc 27, it was still procedure to go up there and turn that glide slope push button off, just in case something. It's muscle memory, right? You don't want to, oh, I'm going to omit turning it off on this approach, and then you go do a real ILS or LOC, and then you forget to turn it off and you follow a false glide slope. So you have to train to cover all aspects. So that was our procedure, is whenever you did a localizer, regardless if it was a LOC only and there wasn't even a glide slope antenna installed, we still would turn the glide slope push button on just to maintain a standard operating procedure. But yeah, that's your real world example of what can happen if you follow a false glide slope down. Thank you for the subscribes. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, a lot of new viewers come in when we switch sims around. So if you guys like this content, I do appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Been a little bit slow on the content front on my end. I do apologize. Been very busy, but after this week's going to be pretty slow as well. But like I said, after this week, it should pick up. We'll be doing we'll make up for it in February. Shouldn't they have been checking their altitude against the waypoints on the ILS? Yes. Yes, absolutely. They should have been doing many things, Richland. Now, I believe they were at final approach fixed altitude when they intercepted the quote-unquote glide slope anyway, so there were no other step-down fixes to double-check. Just another hole in the Swiss cheese model. We talk about errors and threat and error management. You line up Swiss cheese, right? You have all these different holes, and eventually, if you have enough holes, one of them's going to line up. And I think they were already inside of any step-down altitudes, which just there was nothing to double-check. Would they have caught it? Who knows? But there were many other things that should have happened to prevent that whole accident from happening that just it didn't occur. The number one of which is, hey, you screwed up. You captured a false glide slope. Whatever, can happen to anybody. You break out, you're high, you're not in normal position to land, go around. Very simple, go around. Nope, heavy snow, covered runway, bad braking. They decided to force a bad landing halfway down the runway. I don't even think they touched down until past the halfway point, and then they went off the end. So a lot of things that went wrong on that approach. How about the FSprojects side stick? It's expensive, but is it realistic? Yes, tricky. So let's talk about this. And I saw somebody else talk about the curves here. We're going to look at my curves. So this is the FSprojects side stick. I'm running it with the Warthog base. You can use the Verpil base as well. It is in my preference, my experience, that I still prefer the Thrustmaster magnetic base as the base mount for this side stick. Now it's very close with the Verpil, with the Verpil. Yeah. If I could kind of combine a Verpil with the Warthog, where I can make the breakaway tension just a fraction of a bit less on the Warthog, but then keep the Warthog mushiness, if you will, that would be about as real as it gets. But this is, in my opinion, as real as it gets with the Warthog base. It's still very, very good, it's a basically one-to-one replica of the stick. And as far as curves go, so in X-Plane, I run all my stuff straight linear. I said straight linear is the way to go. And if you're running the flight factor, you have to run it on the beta version to have the proper flight model with straight linear. Otherwise, the flight factor's flight model just does not seem very accurate to me. But the toeless airplanes, if you want to know what a toeless airplane or what a real Airbus flies like, if you load up the toeless and you fly this with this setup exactly, it's almost hard to tell the difference between the real airplane and what I have here. The only real difference is what it says, that breakaway is probably just a little bit stronger on this than the real airplane, but as soon as you get that tension to brake, it's pretty much exactly what the real side stick feels like. Now, I tried multiple sticks. I also tried the wind wing as well, but I didn't try this. There was two bases. I tried the one that wasn't the super high-end base. Very close, very good, but my preference is with the Warthog base. That's why I still prefer this one over all the other ones on the market. But a lot of you were saying, hey, I picked up the wind wing. It's still a very, very good stick, very high quality. I made a whole video on it so you can see my thoughts exactly. What's interesting is I didn't even know this until I started researching and looking at every single side stick that I got into when I was flying. There are multiple, or I shouldn't say multiple, but there are two variants of autopilot or instinctive disconnect push buttons here. I guess the real word is takeover command Yeah, takeover command, push button, whatever it is. Right here, this red button. And on most older aircraft and most classic aircraft, it is exactly how it is replicated here on the FSprojects sticks. Now, the newer airplanes, for the most part, unless it's an older airplane with an updated stick, they do have a slightly different look when it comes to the button. It almost they almost put like a detent around the button, I guess, to prevent any inadvertent disconnection of the autopilot. So that is what the other stick had. The Wind Wing stick had the, I guess you could say, modern autopilot disconnect push button, which I've seen them both on both airplanes that I fly, and really you can't really tell the difference when you're using your thumb unless you're actively looking at it. And like I said, I didn't even know there was multiple variants of the side stick until I did this video, and I was researching side sticks for over a month, over multiple months really. But I ended up eventually settling with the Flight Sim Projects one. It's my recommendation. And of course, if you get this gator here, it feels exactly like the real thing, straight out of the Airbus. It makes it feel like the real thing. There's no other no other way to put it. It's hard to tell the difference between real life and this setup here. When I'm flying with you guys here on Sim and I have my hand on the stick, this feels like I'm flying a real airplane. So with that said, let's look at the curves real quick here. My phone is just blowing up, man. All right, so let's go into curves. Let's go settings. Oh, we got to go here real quick just because I want to get this out. Controls, and you guys will be able to tell me if this is the correct profile because I've been messing with them a little bit here. So the Warthog, sensitivity. So I guess 30 and 30 is a little bit off. So this is what I'm running with my current setup. You guys can screenshot that, look at it, whatever you want. Now, I was running this actually a little bit less. I was doing 25, pretty much 25 across the board. And then I saw the fly-by-wire team recommend, I think they recommended the 30. So I might be just a little bit off with the 33 there. I'm going to see how this feels on landing, and then I'll have my final thoughts. But I'm liking that 33-ish% with this exact setup. I think it really is kind of driving home that feel. So we'll see. Yeah, music, he said fly-by-wire recommended 30%. I guess I'm just about 3% over that. I'll see how it feels on touchdown, and then we'll go from there. I was running 15 initially, which I thought was really good, but there were some instances, especially like if you're doing turns where it almost seemed too snappy, so I moved it up to that 30%, which seems to be pretty darn good. I will say it does feel pretty good. And I hadn't flown this airplane in a really long time anyway, so when I got in it and got to fly it again, the flight model has changed significantly to where it does feel way different than it used to. All right, let's go ahead and turn the seatbelt sign off. We have a short to break for the passengers. Now let's take a look at our flight plan here because this is going to get interesting. I don't know. Okay, so now it's drawn all kinds of weird things. Train on ND and op. Oh man. So I think this has to do with our speed. We're going to leave it. We're going to see if it'll fly the full procedure when we get down there and we slow down. If not, we're going to have to manually set up for this approach, which will be interesting. Now, is the fixed info page model? Let me get the VORs on here. I wonder if it is. I don't know if it is or not. It does not appear to be. No. Okay. So, we're going to do some mental math here. What I'm going to do, actually, let's go progress page, and let's go VEIM. Let's do some mental math. So we're 265 miles straight line distance. Flight Simmer, thank you. Yeah, so when I slow down, I thought I remember reading that somewhere in the Discord. So I'm going to leave it as is, but we're going to back ourselves up here with some mental math. So the general rule of thumb, if you guys are flying your airplanes around, when do I descend? And maybe you're in an airplane that doesn't have VNAV, or maybe you're in a prop, or whatever it may have you. Generally speaking, for jets, the rule of thumb is 30 miles from the airport, 10,000 feet, 250 knots. If you can cross that window, you're pretty much in the position to be stable for any approach. But you want to make sure you can cross that window. So 30 miles, 30 miles at 10,000 feet. So we're at 26,000 feet. We need to get down to 10,000 feet. But we also have to take into account field elevation, right? What is the field elevation of this bad boy? Which I think it was 2,000. So we'll just keep that in mind. Let's just do simple math though. So let's take 10,000 from 26,000. That's going to be 16,000 feet. Only on the first line select key? Did I miss that? Well, I'll be damned. Where it's supposed to be too. All right, well, let's continue with our mental math first. So I want to be 30 miles from the airport at 10,000. We know we have to lose 16,000 feet of altitude. Let's multiply it by 3. That's, let's see, it'd be 15, 30, 45 plus 3, 48 miles. Okay. And I'm going to give myself, oh, I'm sorry, it'd be 48. I'm going to give myself a little, let's make it an even 50 for simple math. So 50 miles from the airport, we want to start down, or we need to be down, right? But we have to add our 30-mile ring, so 50 plus 30 is 80. Did I do that right? Now I feel like I'm 80 miles would start down, right? Yeah, about 80 miles is when we would start down. And you can see now we have a fixed info page here. We have our 30-mile-an-hour ring. So we want to cross this ring here at 10,250 knots. Let me just make sure I did that properly in my head. So we took 10,000 feet, 16,000. Yeah, so 16 times 3 is 48. Yeah, 16 times 3 is 48. And then I just add 2 miles, make it easy math, which is 50. We also need to add that 30 for the ring, would be 80 miles. So about 80 miles out, we should start down. And here's another thing. We also want to slow down and be at 250 knots. So I'm going to give myself maybe an extra 10 miles, say 90 miles. You know, no later than 90 miles, we should be starting down on that's a normal 3-degree path. And you can, of course, adjust for your ground speed. But just a general rule of thumb, about 80 miles out, we'll start down. But we have fixed info telling us that as well, which is over here. No, not yet implemented. That's funny. So in the real airplane, if you click on this 30-mile-an-hour radius, what will happen is it will drop a waypoint down right here where this ring intersects your flight plan, and then you can put in a restriction here manually. You could put in 250 at 10,000 feet, and there you go. And then then you would actually have a VNAV down to that waypoint. So that's a very fun way to do it when we get a cleared direct to in the middle of the night, cleared direct to the airport. I always do that. I fix info it, hit the little button there, make it a waypoint, and then put the speed and altitude in there and start on down. But everything else looks good. We're still stable here. How we doing on gas? We're at 11,000. We're supposed to land with 3.8. That's not a lot of gas at all. Into our systems pages here. It's been forever since I sifted through systems pages here on the fly-by-wire. Everything looks good here. Temperatures. We got 2 oxygen bottles in the Neo. Looking good. Let's go outside, shall we? Ooh. Maybe some tunes at this point. I need some water anyway. How do I turn down a old Microsoft Flight Sim? Hopefully that's not too loud. Math is hard sometimes, boss. Tom, it's always hard for me, dude. Especially when you don't use it. When you don't use it, it's amazing what your brain starts to forget. Sounds a little loud here. Let's turn that down. You can do that though, say with VIM 180/80, so you create a waypoint. Yes. Oh, you can, Danny, is that implemented? So yes, Danny's absolutely correct. Another way to put in the waypoint is you can actually do a point bearing distance on your McDo. So you could put in airport distance and then that'll drop a waypoint in there, and then you can manually insert the speed and altitude on top of that. But yeah, Danny, absolutely, that's another way to do it. We do that a lot when you have an ATC says, hey, cross 30 miles north of X waypoint at this altitude. That's the easiest way, or the quickest way, I should say, to do it, in my opinion, when you get one over the radio like that. So, yeah, absolutely. It is implemented. I'm gonna have to try it. Holger Teutsch, good afternoon, sir. Can you please elaborate which abnormals are in the FCOM and which are in the QRH? How do you know where to look? Okay, so all of your abnormals are gonna be in your comm menu. So it's hard to blanket statement this discussion, Holger Teutsch, but you bring up a very good one, because every airline is different. Some airlines have FCOM, some airlines have COM 1, COM 2, supplemental. Some have the different words, and they split it up differently. But generally speaking, you're going to have all of your abnormals are going to be in your FCOM, because that's basically everything about the airplane. Your QRH or your QRM or your QRC, quick reference card, are going to be immediate action items, such as fires. In fact, where I work, we don't even have, our QRM has a lot of stuff that you wouldn't actually think would be in a QRM. Like, we don't even have engine fire stuff procedure in there. That's still in our COM manual, but our QRM has stuff like crosswind calculator table, tailwind component calculator, which I had to use just recently in the islands. Where did I fly? TIST. Where is that? Not St. Martin. It's one island before that. We were flying in there. A little cell literally popped up out of nowhere right over the airport. Everybody, this United had to go around, and then another airplane went around. Then we came in. We're on the ILS, and they're like, yeah, it was almost a direct crosswind, but it was about 10 degrees past crosswind, and it was at 40-something knots. So I'm thinking, man, what's the tailwind component on this? So I actually had to pull up my QRM and do a tailwind calculation on that. So we have tailwind calculation in the QRM. We have we have de-ice holdover tables in the QRM. We have decision aids, like a wind shear decision aid. Let's say you're holding short for takeoff, and a tower comes on and says, hey, we got a wind shear alert off runway 26 left, blah, blah, blah. You have a wind shear decision aid that's in the QRM. And a couple of other things. So it's hard to say at all airlines it's going to be the same. My previous airline, our QRH, our Quick Reference Handbook, had all of the red master warnings, essentially. So it had all fires, engine separation. It had all that stuff that you would traditionally think would be in a Quick Reference handbook. But it just depends. Everybody does it differently. It's really hard to say what's going to be in what book. But generally, your FCOM is going to have everything. So for us, if we have an engine fire, we do the ECAM, because that's your quick reference, right? Your ECAM tells you exactly what to do, how to handle the failure. That's why failures are so great in the Airbus. Let me rephrase that. That's why failures in the sim are so great in the Airbus, because you don't have to have a QRH or an FCOM or whatever at home at your desktop to do these failures. Everything that you need to do to keep the airplane alive and flying is going to be on the ECAM. So that's why I love having a failure simulation like TOLIS does, where you can just have a random failure. You don't have to worry about having a book at home and having to look up and download extra manuals, because everything you need will be there on the ECAM. And in real life, it's the same way. So back to the example, engine fire, we do the ECAM first. That's the first thing you always do, is you take care of the ECAM. Those are your immediate action items. You sift through. If you have a compounding failure, then you might have to kind of prioritize. The ECAM should prioritize the failures for you, but sometimes you got to be careful, because it can put you in a situation where it'll tell you to shut down the only good engine, depending if you have an engine failure and a fire. You got to be careful there. But other than that, the ECAM will pretty much prioritize it for you. Do the ECAM first, and then when the ECAM is complete, that's actually a call out, ECAM complete, I'm going to go to the COM now and actually go through the full procedure, which the procedure in the COM is going to be the entire book. The procedure in the COM is going to be the entire ECAM that you already did, and then it might have extra steps. So The only thing you're missing as a desktop aviator when you have a failure is there might be extra steps in a company handbook that you may not know about, which is not really a big deal. It's not going to affect the way the airplane flies for the most part. I'm sure there's some scenarios out there where there might not be a correct ECAM procedure, but generally that's how it works. Solgerdeutsch is, you know, you can do the ECAM first, and then if you have time, you go to the COM, which is the full book, right? It's got all the failures in there, and you pick it out. So we're actually getting a pretty cool software now, though. When you have a large fleet of aircraft, different tail numbers, all these Airbuses have different options. Some have different engines, some have different mods. So you have to actually look at the tail number that you're in. We're getting software now that you just put the tail number in when you get to the airplane, and then everything in your book is going to be specific to that tail number, which is really good. It will help a lot, because if you have an engine, let's say you have an engine high vibe, right? So since our fleet has everything, it has all the engine variants and all that, you have to actually look at the tail number. You're going to have 4 different engine vibe checklists. It's going to be for a 19, a 20, a 21, a Neo. It's going to be for the LEAP. It's going to be for the IAE. So you have to figure which checklist to do before you actually do it, which can take some time. That's why they have that software now. That's going to be very nice. You just put in the tail number, boom, everything's going to be specific to that airplane. All right, how we doing up here? We've got some traffic out there. That's cool. We are about 250 miles, 237. Let's do a weather request here. Let's pull up some latest weather. Let's go McDo, Atsu, AOC, weather request. We don't need this as our alternate, I guess. And we don't need that anymore. Let's just send that off. I love this little weather Atsu thing. Is awesome to have. You got a Holy Crutch? Yes, the PBD works in experimental. Awesome. How to read the arrival. Man, charts are. There's my biggest recommendation for learning how to read charts is go on YouTube and just look at someone break it down for you. There's a lot to decipher on a chart, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy, but you have to understand it as a whole. So go on to YouTube, and I'm sure there's some real aviation channels out there that will actually break down charts. I was in the process of making a chart video, and I was about 3 hours into it, and I just realized this is so much work, and it's like I ended up just canning it, but yeah, that would be my recommendation. Go on YouTube and find a real aviation channel that has chart breakdowns for you. Let's go ahead and print out our latest. 19 degrees, 290 at 3, 10:14. So we're going to do that here. 10:14. 290 at 3 knots. And 19 degrees. The barrel for us for ILS 4. I don't know why it's not pulling up over there on the fly pad. Let me pull it back here. ILS 4 straight in 30-20. Dang, that's high. Getting up there in altitude. 30-20. Set. We'll have our LS push buttons on. Looking good. Gotta love the tolless randoms. Had a left fuel pump number 2 failure at the beginning of your stream. Yeah, really, Tom. I love it, man. That's what I love, the tolless random failures. It gives you a reason to pay attention. You know, that's the biggest thing for me. Is it gives you a reason to pay attention. How do you like the green texture behind the pedals? Looks a bit off to me. Green texture. Yeah, you know what? I don't recognize that. But it could just be whatever airplane they scanned at. Oh, wait. So let's test this PBD out. I hate experimenting with things here. Because I don't want it to crash. But let's say we're going to do VEIM. At 30. Not yet implemented. Not yet implemented according to that. How are we doing? We're looking good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the ETA, Crow. Here, let me see if I can fix that for you guys. Let's see if I can... Actually, I can... Maybe if I can manually do it. What's our ETA? 020Z, right? So if I come here and I go 0200, watch this. There we go. I'll manually do it. How's that? A little bit big, but whatever. What's the hottest I've ever got the brakes on a 320? Over 550 degrees, man. Over 550. In Vegas. It was a low-speed RTO. That was a low-speed one, like 80 knots. That's probably more than that. No, it's about, yeah, about 80, 85 knots. Oh, it has to be a VOR and a radial and okay. You could do radial, but I don't want to do a radial. I want to do just from the airport itself. So if you could do a radial, you could draw a radial out, but I don't want to do that on the flight plan. And that's how, and the way you would do it, you know, ATC came on and said, hey, I need you to cross 20 miles south of KL. You would just put in KL/20 and it would drop 20-mile PBD from KL. If you put in a waypoint, if you did 20/180 for south, 180 degrees at 20, it would actually put a waypoint, 180 degree bearing from this waypoint, which would be off and it would jack up your flight plan. So while that might have its purpose in some scenarios, generally speaking, you're not going to be using that one. I've gotten to 450 and no brake fans. Ooh, that's going to be a while there on the ground. Did you answer the question about de-icing stream? Ooh, I don't think we have an airplane that does de-icing, right? So I don't know when we would do that. We'd have to get in P3D, which, ugh. I mean, it's not saying no, but I have the space for it now. Maybe I'll have to revisit P3D. Which version? I am using the experimental? The one that I was told to use. The one on the far right. I think it's experimental. You have stable, developmental, and experimental. I think I'm on the experimental. Hello, bro, from India. What's up, Ryan? Hogatoich, yeah, the FS Labs de-icing is phenomenal. No doubt about it. Miss Jungles, welcome to the party. Welcome. Someone was saying, look for Bold Method. Yeah, that's a good YouTube channel for charts. Bold Method on YouTube. Christopher, just scrolling back in the chat there. 260 for this seems low. This is just what SimBrief gave me. Now remember, altitude may not always be, it's majority. It's not based on distance. You know, wind has a big player. Just recently, we flew back from, where did we come? We come from Philly, and we were filed at 30,000 feet because the winds aloft were so high that if you went up to 36, 38, it was going to be like an extra 40 minutes of flight time or 30 minutes, and then that's, of course, more gas. There becomes a point where wind will actually outweigh fuel burn and the efficiency at altitude. So it's not always just based on distance when you get your cruise altitude. This does seem a little bit low, but we're almost there anyway. What's our 2.3 on the fuel? We're getting low on gas, folks. Let's go ahead and, now that you bring it up, Chris, why don't we go ahead and go direct to the WAPE VOR to start the procedure. Direct to, here we go. That'll cut some time off. IIM and 12. So Impal, Procedure turn, back outbound. This has us going right here. Okay, so let's look at this manually. If we have to manually do this in heading mode, we can fly over the VOR. We'll do a procedure turn to the right. So it would look like a parallel. We make a right turn, track outbound, then come back around, then go outbound again on the 180 and join a 14 DME arc for the loc. So we could do it in heading mode if we need to. What other information do we have on here? Missed approach restrict 160 knots. So they don't want you going past 160 because your radius of turn will be too great. Max 200. Direct interception of loc from ATS routes is not authorized. Interesting. Very interesting. They want you to fly. That's interesting. This is actually a pretty complex ILS the more that I look at it here. Loc lights up ND8 base on the airport elevation. Caution, Tangching Hill, 6,200 feet, and hill 6,700 feet, approximately 20 miles southwest of airport and extended runway. There's some serious terrain down here, guys. Look at this thing, 6,600 feet, just 20 miles from the final. Missed approach is what's the sketch. They want you going out, stand below 160 within an 8 DME arc. So if we do blow this up and we gotta go missed, I'm gonna make another fix info radial here. Let's go fix info. I'm gonna arrow right, and I'm gonna do it off the VOR. IIM. Is that the VOR? Yeah, the one that's 122 miles away. And I'm gonna do an 8 DME radius. That's just gonna be a visual representation for me. If we have to go missed, we gotta make sure we have we gotta make sure we stay inside of this blue circle there. So as of right now, it looks like we might have jacked with it a little bit. We should be going direct to the VOR. Looks like it's going direct to the arc. We'll see what happens when we get down there. I should have probably just left it. Oh well. We'll see what happens. We're approaching 118 miles out. We're looking good still. Weather's good. I'm not worried about it. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and save some gas. Let's slow to cost index 0. What's that going to do for our speed? Probably not much at this altitude, but try to save some altitude. Chris says, this looks more complicated than I thought. Welcome to realistic simming for us plebs. Chris, no, it does, man. It's actually a very complex approach down here now that I break it down. And I can see why. You got a lot of terrain. You've got missed approach. Kind of reminds me of Medellin. Kind of similar. Medellin, Colombia, when you do the approach into there, you got high terrain off the left-hand side, and when you go missed, you've got another mountain directly out in front of you. So you got to make a right turn. You got to stay below. I think it's 160 knots as well. Matter of fact, can I just pull it up? What is Medellin? It's MDE, but I don't remember what it is. What's Medellin's identifier or the ICAO code? Mike, Delta Echo? No. Someone tell me what Medellin is. Time to take us to the next level, nighttime. Alright. What do you guys want to see? I'll put a poll in chat. Let me put a poll in chat. Here you go. SKRG, thank you, duh. Rio Negro. While you guys do that poll, let me pull up this, because I was just down here last month. We did the ILS Zulu or Yankee to 1. I think we did this one here. Yeah, this one's with no PT required, right? So you have ILS Yankee. The Zulu, this is a mandatory procedure turn here, which I got to do a podcast story on this. Where we did some heavy drinking after this trip because got a little hairy. But anyway, yeah, very similar. So you're coming in here, you've got high terrain off the left, and it's not charted, but max 185 until 10,000 in this turn here because there is terrain out there. You got Maranilla VOR out to the right. But yeah, you're coming in. You can't descend down until you're inside of the VOR because of the terrain and the possible false intercept. It's it's semi straightforward, but if you have a situation go wrong here in Medellin, it can be very dangerous. I believe there was a 7.4 that crashed out here one time on this exact approach. But anyway, I just wanted to look at that again. Yeah, it was 185 knots. So this one's even more so because Impal has us doing what, 160? Jeez, they really want you tight. So ILS 4. We got some like club music going on here. Yeah, 160 knots in the turn. Good grief. All right, I'm going to step us down. I think it's about time. Let's go ahead and step down to 15,000. Thrust idle, descent. Seatbelt sign is coming on. It's Microsoft Flight Simulator. Gotta be dusk. Interesting. It's a lot closer than I thought. Listen to that spoolback, though. Man, I feel like I should be in Ibiza or something with this music. Good grief. I kind of like it. Is that bad? The approach you intend to do is one I always track aircraft doing overhead, both visually and on Flight Radar 24. So excited to finally see it being done from the cockpit. Enoch, well, I hope I don't let you down, man. What I'm going to try to do is I'm actually going to try to fly the full procedure for you. What it looks like right now, it looks like the airplane might want to turn early and just join the arc. If that happens, I'm just going to put it in heading mode, and we're going to fly it old school way. I used to fly arcs and procedure turns and all that in heading mode anyway, in old airplanes that didn't have LNAV, VNAV. So we'll get it done. Bring back some of the old freight memories of flying Beechcraft around in the mountains. Club V1. How often do you fly internationally? Whenever they tell me to, man. Whenever they tell me to. I spent more time in South America in the month of December than I think I spent all year. Like, I don't know, it just happened that way. Did a lot of South America stuff. And the islands, St. Thomas, a couple other ones out there. Went into, where's XP from? Dominican Republic. Did a couple flights into the Dominican as well. So I'm done. I'm ready for some Indianapolis turns, whatever it is. All right. Let's go ahead and kill the music for now. What is this song, though? It's interesting. All right, we'll kill that for now. We'll bring our sound back up. Whoa. It's time to pay attention now. So, we are on our descent. Seatbelt sign is on. We're at a 21.1. We're actually going to pick this up. Let's go ahead and descend. Let's look at the chart again. What is the TAA? 11,000. This is 6,300, 14 miles out. So at the very least, I want to be at 10,000 coming in here. So let's go 10. Let's go open descent. Let's go ahead and get on down. Even if the drawing looks like that, the aircraft should still fly up through properly. But this type of approach is a bit of an edge case, so it might not work. Flight Simmer, yeah, no worries. So Flight Simmer, I think I might have, it might be my fault too. So it did have it properly, and then I went direct to the VOR. So now, since I went direct to the VOR, it seems to like just want to track the arc instead of go to the VOR. Initially, it had it correct, where it actually had me coming here and then coming back out. But we'll see. We'll get down to 10,000 feet. We'll slow down. We'll see what it does. This is, like I said, I'm not anticipating this approach to be this complex, but I guess I should have, considering I picked the airport. Chris. Potomac River Visual into Reagan National. Oh, yeah. It's a great approach. I like the, you guys got to fly that Harbor Visual Portland, Maine, though. If you guys like the DC approach on the river, look up the Harbor Visual Portland, Maine. I believe XP did a flight there as well. I have one on my channel. I think I have maybe 2 on my channel. We did one in the CRJ on Microsoft, and I think we did one in X-Plane too. But I'd say it's just as pretty. And you have more turns. It's not just one turn, right turn at final. It's you got to make a left and a right and a left and a right. Split the islands. Harbor Visual 29, Portland, Maine, I believe. All right, looks like it's going to be dusk, so let's end the poll. Let's go weather. Let's... Meow. Ooh. 5:38 p.m. That looks a little bit spicy. Here we go. Blue Bear, hi all. Hope all's going well. At least better than Dak's last ditch QB snake. Blue Bear, you can't say it on the chat. No, I hear you, Blue. Hey, look, been a Cowboys fan long enough. I didn't have any. It's no surprise to myself, really. It's fitting, very fitting that it ended that way. Pissed me off, man. Pissed me off. Nothing like a QB sneak from the 50 with no timeouts and 14 seconds on the clock. What the hell are you thinking, Dak? Oh well. Do we need to turn our radar on? Because I'm starting to actually look a little bit sketched out now. These clouds look pretty good. I will say they look much better than what I'm used to. I mean, some still look like potatoes, but it's not bad actually. Not terrible. Have I flown the PMDG DC-6 yet? No, not yet, since I've got everything reset. That might be on the horizon. But I don't know. I might have to do another few flights in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm enjoying the visuals right now. All right, let's go select speed. Let's start walking this back as well. I'm going to help it out with a little spoid brake action. I want to go ahead and just... oops, I don't want a heading mode. I want to come back to... We're going to slow it down here because I want to see what the airplane wants to draw. Let's go ahead and slow up to 250. Spoid brakes out. We need to fire McCarthy. I don't know how I feel. Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know. Only the Cowboys can turn a successful fake punt into a delay of game on the next play, which stalled the drive. Yep. Yeah, I know. A lot of it, everyone was like, oh my gosh, how could you do that QB sneak at the end? We lost that game from the beginning. We lost that game from the first quarter, man. Just didn't show up. Did not show up. The star is green. Yeah, they deserve to lose that game from quarter one, man. Titans look bad? Yeah, the Titans, they didn't show up either, man. How about the Niners, though? Going into Green Bay, too? Jeez. All right. Time to look alive. What did we have? What did I say? Did I pull it from the printer? What was our METAR? 1014. You know, even though it says pull standard on there, I still always screw that up. I don't know why. 1014, even in the real airplane, I'm always fiddling with this thing. Do I pull, push it? What am I doing? All right, we're coming down to 10,000 feet. How's our outside air temperature? We're plus 11, so we don't need any engine ice yet. Do I think Microsoft Flight Simulator will give, or do I think X-Plane 12 will give Microsoft Flight Simulator? I do, because I think it's going to be very appealing to people like me that prefer like a plethora of complex airplanes. Like, we just don't have, the sim doesn't have the time yet, Microsoft Flight Sim. So I'm not saying in the future it won't be as good as X-Plane 12, but I think initially, if X-Plane 12 can come out with lighting and clouds like this, and I can fly my TOLUS, my INI, all that stuff, then yeah, I'm going to be an X-Plane 12 a lot. But there is something to be said about having frickin' ortho anywhere in the world. This looks very ominous flying in here. This looks very ominous. But yeah, I think X-Plane 12 will give it a run for its money. just because, you know, it's a more seasoned sim. Now, we'll see what happens when we have to port over airplane models. Alright. Just want to make sure we don't have... We're looking good. Plus 12. Turn this down a little bit. A little too bright. Alright, so according to this, $6,000 is fine. Alright. So if we have to do it manually, we're going to fly straight to the VOR. And then we're going to make a parallel outbound. So 221, so it's going to be 041 outbound once we cross over, if we have to do it manually. So I'm going to prepare myself here. Let's come down to the RadNav page. I want to put in IIM. There's VOR1. Oh, I thought it wouldn't let me. Okay, good. And I also want to do IIM and VOR2. And I want to do, what did I say the course was outbound? It was 041 outbound. Okay. 041. So now if I go to ARC nav, it's not quite pointing the right direction, but we can make it work. Yeah, see, this wants to just join the arc immediately. Just let it keep flying. I'll let it keep flying. Here, I'm going to slow it to 210 as well. As we come in here, we're going to come to 210 knots. Quite a bit bumpy. .210 is set. See how she does here. Look at that view, though. Goodness. Funny you mentioned push or pull for the altimeter setting. Seems pulling the button for managed 2992 is against standard Airbus philosophy. Everything else that is pilot selected is pull knob. Yeah, that might be why. Maybe that's why. It's a brain thing. I don't know. Even in the real airplane, man, I swear I'm always pressing it the wrong way. Unless I actively think about it. Scrolling back in chat there. Have I ever heard anything about the Phoenix as of late? Chris, no, I have not as of late. Basically, Obzoa doesn't allow third-party devs to know what the weather or terrain does. Phoenix has the same problem, but they use their own database for the terrain, but don't have weather. Okay. Interesting. How do I jump to different camera views like the McDo? Haven't gotten used to my... Oh my gosh, Aaron Hastings is a pain in the butt. XP72 has a tutorial on how to get camera views in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Whoa, let's go Flaps 1 here before we stall it. Flaps 1 coming out. Look up XP72's camera view video. And that's exactly what I did. He'll walk you through all the steps. You got to do some kind of funky business. I don't know if there's a different way to set them up now with, you know, the change in the sim, but oh my goodness, look at that. That is freaking beautiful. Are you kidding me? So I have heard something. I follow the progress, I'll tell you that. Peter Green says, yeah, I agree, man. That's what it is. It says pull. You have to pull it. You have to press it. Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, you got it, man. Let's see. We got 229 watching, 183 likes. Let's see if we can hit the like button for that shot right there. Huh? Hit the like button for Microsoft Sunsets. The like button does help the channel, so I do appreciate your likes. It's COVID free. It's going to get a little bit spicy here as we fly across this point here. I'm going to go ahead and start a descent down to 6,000 as well. Let's go ahead and go open a descent down to 6. Let's get our lights on. All right, we're going to see. We're going to watch it like a hawk here. We should go to the VOR, but we'll see what happens. Am I on Unicom? I am. Air India livery on the engines. Oh, I love the Air India livery, man. I know we didn't even talk about it much, but look at that. I like the star or the sun, but the engines... How sweet is that? That's a sweet paint job. It really does have a nice paint job, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I use SimBrief to get my flight plan, Rocco. Is it weird to hear your voice when calling at the cabin? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know whose voice that is. A little bit weird. But I like it. Ah, no, don't turn. Heading. So it would have done it fine. I think when I went direct, I screwed it up. That's okay. We're going to fly outbound. Now, will I crash the sim if I reload the approach? What if I try this real quick? If I crash the sim, I'm going to be very, very sad. I'm going to try to reload the approach. ILS-4, approach via... Alright, so we look a little bit closer. Manage nav. No. Alright, we're doing old school. We're down to 6,000 feet, 210 knots. I would imagine this VOR has a specific turn here. We probably need to walk this back to at least 180 here. Yeah, it was okay at the beginning, Alex, and then when I went direct to the VOR, it sequenced it for some reason. But that's all right. That's all right. We have the ability to change this. Let's come back to 180. You can see why. I mean, just look at the terrain all the way around here. Like, we are in a bowl here. We are in a bowl. Nelson. Oh, man. Jeremy, I sure hope so. VFNX -10, flaps 2. Here it comes. I can hide this behind the bar. That's cool. All right, so here we go. We're going to cross over the VOR. We're going to make a left turn 041 outbound. And then we're going to swing it back around. .180 flaps 2. Fubar says, got to run, view and catch the landing on replay. Thanks for the weekend stream. Fubar, have a great rest of your weekend, man. Take care, bud. All right, so we got our course 041. Here we go. If you guys want to fly how to figure out round dial VOR in an Airbus, there's our turn. 041 outbound. Right over the field. Wow, this is cool. Andy, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. We are doing a VOR simple procedure here. So because I have an HSI, I'm going to track outbound here a little bit so I can get back on that course. Is there a limit on the outbound MHA 500, 11,000? So we're actually below that. And we're going to turn right back around to 221 inbound. Alright, here it comes. So what I can do now is I can actually put this into track mode so I can track course 041. It will track for me even though we have wind. So that's another good use of the bird here, going into track FPA instead of heading mode, because if you're in heading mode, you'll end up just flying a heading and the wind can push you off course. You could use the green diamond trick as well, but makes it easier. Alright, we'll go outbound for a little bit longer, then we're going to turn around inbound to, what was it? 221 is the inbound, and then 180. Alright, let's go ahead and set up RadNav 221 inbound. And start the turn. Here we go. We're turning to the protected side, so we're turning opposite, because it's a parallel. If you turn off the FOS P15 Indy, you get a bit of performance boost? Really? I seem to be doing okay right now, though. Doesn't seem to be much of an issue. Ooh, keep turning. Come all the way around. I'm going to set it up so I can intercept. I'll do about 240. Alright, then after we hit the VOR, we're going to track the 180 course outbound. So I'm going to put that in the VOR 2. And then I can actually use my FO's VOR. So he's on 180. We're on 221. And we are below the altitude for this anyway. As you can see, the terrain over there, good grief, that's definitely below where we should be. Andy says, I'm never buying Microsoft Flight Sim again, and then I keep making it look good. Hey, this is my first time in it in probably a year. Literally probably a year. But I mean, it does look dang good. Look at that, huh? Cannot deny the juice or the sounds. Without the sounds, I probably wouldn't be flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right. How are we looking on gas? We're looking good. We still have 8.3. Man, I must have turned really wide there. Here comes my needle. Shoot. Paul, you're reinstalling? Awesome. I'll tell you what, we're going to have to do another flight in Microsoft Flight Sim. I might do our first Parro flight in the fly-by-wire mod just for fun, just so we could see. And then we'll do the real approach in like a Tolis or something with Phantom multi-crew. Maybe we could take the CRJ into Parro. That would be interesting. Gosh, it just looks so good. All right, we're 6,000. We're a little bit off, but that's fine. Come back a little bit to the right. All right, so once we cross, now we're going to track the 180 outbound, which you can tell over here. This is my FO's ND. I have his set up, and it's awfully bright over there, sir. Let's go ahead and turn you down a little bit. We're basically tracking inbound now. This is how it's done. If you had to do a VOR in real life, this is how you would do it. Miss Jungles, I agree. That sunset is absolute fire. that's where we're landing. All right, get ready to spin it to 180 outbound. Nothing like doing a VOR full procedure ILS here. All right, it's starting to run away from us because we're going over the top. Don't chase, come right to 180. All right, so once I have 180 track set up here, now I'm gonna come back down here and flip the radios around. So now I want 180 set in mine, so I can just look at my course needle. I need to come a little bit more to the left. And now that we're established outbound on the 180 at 6,000 feet here, 210 knots max, we're going to join a 14 DME arc. Our turn inbound is indicated by this 207 radial. So what I need to do is put this 207 radial in the FO's side here. So 207 will be his radial that I want to have programmed. Now once I center this up, I'll tell you what we're doing here and I'll show you. Here comes our HSI. I don't have any any modded replay options. I didn't know if it was part of the sim or not yet. I thought they had one included. Did they get rid of it? All right, we're tracking 180 outbound to 14 DME. About 10 miles. Okay, going to manage heading now. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, look how we turned out. We're right on it. Look at that. We are right on it. So let's go ahead and manage it up. Nav, look at that. And I'm going to go back to my standard flight director. We were right on the money, guys. I flipped over to nav and we are on it. So now, once we join the arc, we'll have this as a backup here. When his needle is centered, we should be turning inbound. But we are set. We are now in managed nav. Once we start the turn on the arc, I'm going to go ahead and arm the approach. At or above 6,300 with 210 knots or less, we're doing that just fine. And is there any other stipulations on the approach here? 5,900 at 9.1. So that's final approach fixed altitude. We're basically at final approach fixed altitude, just 100 feet above it. So we're looking good. We are looking good. LS push buttons on. I'm going to go ahead and use low brakes because my thrust reversers get really spazzed out. When I go to reverse, it just really gets funky. So I think I have a binding issue. I guess an arc isn't a procedure turn. No, the arc isn't a procedure turn. The procedure turn was over here when we did our parallel outbound come back. That was our procedure turn. Our course reversal is another term. And then now we're outbound and we're going to join the arc. Looks amazing on your iPad Pro. Nice, man. You should be a pilot in real life. You're pretty good at this. Man, according to the YouTube comment section, I'm just going to be a fake pilot for the... I'm a good fake pilot. Least comment place and least toxic place on the internet is the YouTube comment section. There's not a great way to map reverse on the Bravo, unfortunately. Okay, so it wasn't just me. That makes me feel a little bit better. I think if I just toggle my lever, it should go into reverse. I noticed if I go into reverse full on my Bravo, it adds full yoga thrust and we'll go off the end of the runway. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I have that extra radius in there, that 8-mile radius. If for some reason we totally screw this thing up and we go missed, all we got to remember, 160 knots max at or above 4,000 feet. Then a left turn back around, because we don't want to hit that mountain over there. Which is interesting, the course reversal is here, and the mountains are I may have done that whole course reversal wrong. It's actually, I'm very impressed with this approach. I can't believe how complex it is. I should have done more research on it. You're my favorite fake pilot on the internet. Thank you, Aaron. I'm doing great, Captain Bob. 7, how are you doing, man? It's a lovely Sunday. It's 1 o'clock. This is perfect. We'll finish up here. Have some playoff football to watch still. All right, so we're 180 knots. I'm going to go ahead and get a little spicy. We're going to arm the approach. Glide slope blue, low blue, Cat 3 single, Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1+2. Here is our cross-reference radial. When this is centered, we know we should be getting pretty close to turning inbound, as noted here by a D207 on our chart. So things are looking correct. I should have activated and confirmed the approach phase. I've done that now, so that's good. We don't have any ATC. We'll go ahead and turn the landing lights on just to verify we are clear to land. Nobody's on final. Here comes the turn. Is that a discontinuity? I don't know. It looks like it could be. We're going to see what happens here. We just cannot continue to fly straight or we're going to end up in the mountains. We're looking good. It's holding that arc perfectly. Coming in over the water. Joel, you just haven't got used to the Airbus yet? Boeing is easier to use? Hey man, once you get used to the Airbus, I don't think you'll be able to say that. But if you're comfortable with the Boeing now, it's very understandable. Everybody's comfortable with what they're comfortable with. But once you learn the Airbus, no doubt is a little bit easier to operate. I would be happily flown in real life by this fake pilot. Thank you, Blue Bear. All right, Loke Star. We've captured the Loke. Look, our cross-reference is centered. So we are on the right track, guys. We are coming in. Loke is captured, and we're not overshooting either. That's really good. We're at 5,900. We're at 6,000 feet, so we're below the glide slope, which is good. Always want to capture the glide slope from below. We're 180 knots. Flaps 2. 2,000 feet above the airport, so what, 2,000 feet? Or I'm sorry, 4,000? Ooh, that's actually more than that. Touchdown zone is 25. Call it 2,600. So 4,600 feet is 2,000 above. So at 4,600 feet, we'll manage up. Kind of want to back the time up just a little bit.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Oh God, that was a lot. There we go. I don't fly Microsoft a lot. I want to see the scenery here. Back up the time just a tad. Thank you for the subscribe. Appreciate it, man. Every time I fly the Boeing, it looks like an octopus falling off a tree. Goodness. Savage. Alright, here we go. Glide slope is live. I guess we'll go takeoff and landing, King. Glide slope. I kind of want to let it do its thing here. Glide slope star. Go on altitude. We'll leave it at 6,000 feet. Well, actually, we got time. What is it? Go on altitude. I think it's 4,000. To join and hold at 8,500. Ground altitude set 8,500 blue. There is replay if you have dev mode on. It's kind of complicated. No, I don't have dev mode on, unfortunately. So no replays for us. No replays for us. So we got to enjoy the views. I would not have a solid replay mode yet. Oh my goodness, look at that view with the mountains in the background. It's a sweet little approach. Or we're getting close to 4,600. Let's manage it up. Let's go gear down. Oh, those sounds. Those sounds on the gear extension. Unbelievable. VFE next -10, flaps 3. VFE next -10, flaps 4, landing checklist. Man, love the sounds. I'm trying to enjoy these views here on the approach. We'll go ahead and arm the spoid brakes.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Roger that. Landing check is cam crew advised. Auto thrust speed. Auto brakes are low. ECAM memo. Landing all green. Landing check is complete. Autopilot's coming off. Oh, I don't have it bound correctly. Autopilot's off.
1,000.
1,000 stable. Clear to land. Interesting approach light system. Looks like a Christmas tree. Either this runway is really narrow, or I feel extremely high. So I guess I'm only 1 dot high, but must be a narrow runway illusion here. There's 2 reds.
100 above. 500. Minimum.
Landing.
400.
Okay, now we're getting high. Come on down, baby.
300.
Wow. What a runway illusion, man. I feel super high. I'm going to follow the pappies here.
200.
Glide slope going above us. Check. We're 2 whites, 2 reds.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10.
Oh, that's a freaking juicer.
5.
It's like trying to go around with the void bridge. Oh, there we go. Don't mind my weird. Whoa. Don't know what happened there. Went into takeoff mode, I guess. We're good. Erroneous. Clear the runway. Did we just park on a... Is there even a terminal here? I don't think there's even a terminal. Oh, there is over there. Oh, man, we got to do a... All right, close your eyes. Close your eyes. We got to do a little bit of a 180 here. I don't always go off-roading in an Airbus, but when I do, it's with 290 people watching. That was a failure to plan. Failed to plan. About the turnoff. We got to come back around. We got to go to the terminal over here. All right, we can clear these ECAMs out. I think so. What happened there is on my reverse isn't quite bound properly yet, so I got to like toggle it, which is good. And then when I take it off, it like goes into takeoff mode. So that's just my bindings being weird. All right, reverser's stowed. That's right. We won't reconfigure till we clear the runway here. Power back. V1 bush flying, exactly. Look at that though. Love it. All right, looks like we got cops waiting for us already here because we went off-roading, so they're gonna arrest us when we get to the gate. But that's all right. Are you ready to copy a number? Exactly. That was a fun approach though. We did a full-blown procedure turn, course reversal, whatever you want to call it, to an arc. Airplane flew it wonderfully. I think it would have been just fine. It's when I went direct to the fix to kind of like jump the sequence on me. But other than that, the airplane actually handled it pretty darn good. Let's go ahead and turn off all this. Turn you off. Turn you off. Turn you off. Start the APU. We're gonna pull up next to this. What's that? Little jet stream or something? Well, right here. Brake set. We need a cool down time. Let's listen to the flap retraction sounds. Gotta love that. Put you guys back to live mode. You don't need to be looking at that. Diplomatic immunity. Don't worry, the fly-by-wire is equipped with the weed eater. I mean, the sounds, like when you're switching views left and right and you can hear it changing the The sound, oh, it's awesome. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do that. Let's go ahead and secure engine 2. I'm good in the air, not so good on the ground. Hey, man, that's all right. I'd rather be good in the air than on the ground. I tell you that. First question's on V1's next PC. What's the min width for a 180-degree turn on the taxiway? I actually had to do one on in St. Martin, or not St. Martin. What the heck is that one we talked about? TIST. I can't think of the name of it. All right, flap is open. We're almost avail. We'll go ahead and kill the seatbelt sign. There's an avail light. We'll go ahead and secure engine 1. Since we don't have replay, we'll do a proper shutdown. Tom, you retract your last statement. Sorry, man. Sorry to let you down. Is it a Banderante? I don't know. St. Thomas, thank you. Jeez. I'm gonna drive home now and call a cab. Have the wife pick me up, man. All right, so once we're shut down, waiting for 5% and 1, then I'm gonna come up to the overhead. We'll turn on the dome light here. We'll go ahead, beacon off. And then the FO's flow is gonna start up here at the top of the overhead. He's gonna start with the fuel pumps. Fuel pumps are coming off. Make sure the yellow electric pump is off. If it was off, we'll leave the APU bleed off for now. We reset the clock, do our times. Is there an OOE time in here? Just curious. Just curious. Since it had pretty much everything else. See, miscellaneous out, off, on, in time. And send for that. And then over to the transponder. Standby 2000. And once we were chalked, I would release the parking brake. Now there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Impal, India. I hope you guys enjoyed this flight. Don't have a replay, unfortunately, but I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. Our next stream, so whether it's tomorrow, it may be tomorrow. We might do a test stream in the fly-by-wire just to see the scenery. We might do a fly-by-wire to Bhutan tomorrow just to see the scenery. It is no joke, guys. Probably one of the most challenging approaches I've ever flown. Flying into Parro, I don't think I've completed it successfully yet once because I don't know if it's something that the airplane isn't doing correctly or I'm misunderstanding the approach. So I got to look into that some more today. But nevertheless, tomorrow should be a lot of fun if it is indeed. So make sure your notifications are on. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Be expecting to go into Parro very, very soon as we wrap up the Asia Pacific Tour in 2022. This is our 20th leg. All started when we left LA to Honolulu in the 747. After we go to Parro, we'll probably end up back in Kai-Tak, and then we're going to go Concorde mode back to the US of A and wrap up this Asia Pacific Tour. I hope you guys have a great rest of your stream. Shout out to the Fly-by-Wire team. You guys are awesome. This airplane is completely different from the last time I flew it, and in a good way too. It's really come a long way. Really enjoying it. Without this airplane, I probably wouldn't even have this simulator installed. So that should say enough about how awesome the guys at Fly-by-Wire are. Shout out again to Boris for the sounds. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Until next time, I'm V1. Stay safe, stay healthy. See ya!